Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the No Laying Up podcast. Solly here. Got a little topic deep dive for you. We have taken KVV's piece that he wrote from earlier this summer of analyzing Rory's last 10 years of the majors and diving into it on the podcast, talking a little bit about it, what we remember about it, just having a little conversation about each major championship stop along the way. We recorded this several months back, loading up on these while I was on paternity leave, but we've had a plethora of inventory to get through here as the year wraps up. And excited to bring this one to life. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Rhoback Activewear. You all know Rhoback. Best fit, best feel. The holidays are here. Means it's time to give the best gift of the year. That is Rhoback, our single favorite item we own, the Rhoback hoodie. It is simply unbeatable. It is soft. It's comfortable. Wear it every single day. The spit up cleans up very well out of it almost immediately when the little babies are throwing up on it. That's one of many, many, many nice things I can say about the Rhoback hoodie. They just also released a new hybrid jacket. It is wonderful. I have it in the stroller. I wear it out on walks all the time. It's got insulated quilting on the front and back panels and stretch knit sleeves. It is both warm and flexible. The internal and external pockets are clutch as well. I've been loving this jacket. It's super clean, comfortable, perfect secondary layer for on or off the course. And maybe, again, another one of my favorite items, the Delta pants. They're back in stock. They sold out so quickly. They are back in stock. They are my go-to pants for the golf course. The fabric is comfortable. The wrinkle resistance, a really clean look. The length, the fit, all the way down to the heel is fantastic. The belt loops make it great for the golf course or just your go-to everyday pants. Style it with a Rhoback hoodie, hybrid jacket, or crew, and you're set to look and feel good. If you haven't already, time to load up on some Rhoback for yourself and for others. Use code NLU at Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off your first order through the end of this week. That's RHOBACK.com, 20% off bottoms, Q-tips, hoodies, and more with code NLU. It's Rhoback season. Check them out now. Let's get to the pod. Things are going just too well in the golf world. We needed to level ourselves. We need to bring ourselves down. So we have an interesting topic that's going to bring us down a little bit today. We're going to get into that. I'm going to be playing. I'm listener. I've done no preparation for this pod. Feels great. I'm so happy to be here today. Also have done no preparation for this pod. Mr. DJ Pie. Hello, Pie Man.
Greetings, guys. Talking about one of my favorite and least favorite topics simultaneously. Real duality of man shit we're going through today. It's just going to be excellent. So I can't wait to go through it. Thanks for having me on your program.
The quarterback of today's episode is going to be Mr. Kevin Van Valkenburg. Kevin, how are you? Can you tell us a little bit about what we're doing today?
Well, Sully, as we sort of thought back a little bit this year, as we were doing a lot of these deep dives, the ones where Rory popped up in, we were like, man, it's been a kind of a really difficult decade. It's a decade of torture.
It was first time hearing of this. I hadn't realized it had been a decade since he'd won a major.
Yeah. So we were kind of kicking around ideas this year. We're like, what if we just went back and like relived all of it? Like tried to sort of identify like patterns or how close he was, how many times he actually was in contention in majors, like what happened when he fell short. And man, like going through 40 majors really is an interesting exercise in hurt. If you're a Rory fan, if you are a Rory fan, don't tune out, right? Because there is some sort of some hope in here, some fun anecdotes, some good times to sort of remember, some painful times. But we're just going to go back to 2015. That back in 2014, Rory won 2 majors. Seemed like he was the top dog in the world, the next Tiger Woods. ESPN, the magazine writers who are assigned to profile him, we're going to go out and sort of write the definitive Rory piece, looking for how great could he possibly be, and maybe I'm the cooler, Sully. Maybe I'm the whole reason that some of this happened, because that's how I kind of got into golf writing. Is I showed up on the scene in 2015.
And if you're new to this podcast, this is not an anti-Rory podcast in any way, right? This is this is more of a celebration, I think, of Rory, if anything, on this podcast. So it is not. There's plenty of people out there that have turned into massive Rory haters, which I still struggle to comprehend. But that is not what you're going to find here. So I think we're going to be drowning a little bit more of our sorrows in this than we are celebrating any of this.
I think if I'm looking at this, optimistically, this almost feels like, remember the Journey of the Cat trap draw that we did when things were just as bleak as they were going to get. It's like, let's go through all that. He's going to the movies to see Deepwater Horizon. He's getting his dog's ACL repaired. He's doing all this stuff. It just sets the table for the 2019 Masters, right? Like it sets the table for the comeback. I think that's the same thing we're doing with Rory. Like we're not going to appreciate the next one properly if we don't really kind of audit and debrief on all of all of the old ones.
Which, interestingly enough, if I have my math right here, no, it would be one more full year of Rory not winning majors, and then it would be 2026 Masters. That would be the same gap in Masters wins from
Oh.
Tiger as Tiger had between the 2008 U.S. Open into the Masters. I know there's a couple majors he skipped in 2008 and all that, but I think that's an interesting little parallel here, which is again worth like revisiting. And I think we're going to get into this of how unlikely this felt in 2014, right? And we'll get to this probably when we get post 2016, but Rory came on our pod for the first time in 2016 and into 2017. He came back and we talked a little bit about majors, and it was like, hey, man, you kind of haven't won one in a while. And that was 8 years ago now. But he delivered a famous line in that of like, Dustin had one major, blah, blah, blah. Everybody, all these, Jason Day had one major, still does. And he's like, all these guys, they got to get 3 more majors to get to me. I need 3 more to get to Arnold Palmer. And he's been passed since then by a guy that had 0 at that point, Brooks Koepka, and has now won 5 of them. And he is no longer like the major winner of this generation. And it's very interesting and surprising nugget in there because of like his play has not dipped. Like you go pull up that data golf page, man. Find me one that looks better over the last decade plus of just green. Some tiny little dips in years, but like nothing like we've seen from Jordan Spieth, nothing like we've seen from Justin Thomas, nothing like we've seen from insert any player. Brooks Koepka has had massive dip years. Dustin Johnson has started to fall off. He's a little older and whatnot, but like it's not come from like a where did Rory's game go? It's like, dude, how have you not gotten any of these majors over the last 10 years?
And other than a couple weird ones, I mean, Portrush comes to mind where he kind of just shit the bed on the first day, and it almost felt like the moment was too big. But the outside of that, it's like no, he's kind of there at almost all of them too. It's not like he's just some complete head case that is like not able to contend in these things. Like it's constant contention, which we're going to see too. And I think the thing that makes it really tough is the Tiger one. I would say equally, even probably more, like definitely more unbelievable if you were standing there on that green in 2008 and you're like, oh, soak it all in, man. It's going to be 11 years before we see another one of these. Like that would have been harder to believe. But looking back on it, it's like, okay, well, listen, the guy continually getting in car accidents. He could not stop like injuring his knee and back and ankle and neck.
Couldn't stop something else either.
Couldn't stop doing a lot of stuff. It's like, okay, you know what? All right, I'm not a forensic scientist here, but like I can understand how this happened. Rationally, I can get what happened here. Rory, I mean, what, 1 injury to think of, 2 injuries maybe, and it's just there's no explanation for it really, other than just kind of the big tone syndrome. Sometimes you play great and someone else plays better.
I reject that.
Well, look, guys, I want to take you back. Let's kick it off here. I want to take it back to 2015, just to sort of set the scene of how different expectations were, how things were feeling back then. This is in 2015, Rory's first chance to win the career Grand Slam, and the hype could scarcely be bigger. He's coming off a Ryder Cup performance where he just destroyed Ricky Fowler's in singles. Solly was joking about how he was going to carve USA initials or carve Euro initials into Ricky Fowler's head.
My tweet was that he carved because Ricky had USA shaved in the side of his head. I said Rory shaved RORY to the other side of Ricky's head after beating him like 5-4 or something.
Thank you. So in a cover story for Golf Digest, everybody wants a piece of Rory at this point. He's including ESPN the magazine. I'm following him around at this point, trying to get my nuggies. He reflects on what is kind of the sort of one topic that people are sort of starting to ask about his personal life, his breakup with his fiancee, Caroline Wozniacki. He says the turbulence in his personal life has made him rededicate himself to golf. After the breakup, this is Rory talking to Golf's Jaime Diaz. I thought, what else do I have in my life? I have family and friends, but they're always going to be there. What else? That's when I decided, you know what? I'm just going to immerse myself in golf for a while. I spent most of my time at it, thought about it more, and spent more time in the range in the gym than ever because that's all I had and that's all I wanted to do. He's still sort of wrestling with fame. He's only 25 at this point, but he's trying to kind of learn to embrace being dubbed kind of the chosen one. He says, until a few years ago, I don't want to say I felt guilty being successful because I had this ability given to me, but I was sort of like, why me? Because I felt like it's a very selfish thing to be a winner, a very selfish trait, which is what you sort of need in golf. And I guess it just took me a while to feel comfortable with that because of the personality that I have. I realized that if I want to be successful in golf, which I do, I need to have it. What helped was realizing how much people like winners, how much people gravitate towards them. So if other people are happy for me winning, then why can I not be? Sounds honestly, remember going back and reading this quote, like it kind of surprised me a little bit just seeing him like so much. The first kind of, I think, real vulnerability that Rory showed with like dealing with, oh man, like this is a lot of shit. Like not only is my personal life getting dragged through the pages all the time, but I'm still kind of figuring out like who I want to be and how to deal with being essentially anointed the next dude.
Quick pause on this to say, like, again, that quote going back 10 years now, there's very few. Is there any other guy we could do a decade's worth of majors and look back on and talk about for as long as we're going to talk about today? The answer is probably no on that. I mean, we could do any time point in Tiger's life, but Rory has just, I want to salute this as well. Like, he's made himself available, like, from the jump emotionally to golf fans, right? Like, he makes it relatively easy to get invested in. He puts himself out there maybe too much at times. He probably catches himself needing to like pull back and needing to, do less from time to time. But like, even like throughout all of this, he's made all of his thought process available and all of it and open to critique. The reason why people don't do this is like probably what we're about to do in this episode of like how often he flip flops and changes his mind about his approach and all that. But like he's always understood the role as an entertainer and like been so forthcoming about so many emotions that like imagine doing this for Brooks Koepka. I could not do an episode looking back. He's won 5 of them, but I could not go back and look at all of Brooks Koepka's majors.
Probably be about a 10-minute, 15-minute episode.
Yeah, I think this is where I'm not trying to justify any of it of my complete slobbering like Rory love over the last decade, but it's like this is where it all starts, right? I think any kind of even moderately new golf fan has to remember what it was like in the days of Webb Simpson, Jim Furyk, Bubba, Matt Kuchar, just hoovering up every golf tournament. And Rory was still around in those days, like playing a lot in Europe and kind of the early like percolations of his career. But like when he came in and like kicked the door down, first at Congressional, but then in 14 when it like truly became Rory time, and he's like this in the press room was where it was like, all right, cool, man, like fan for life. I'm on board. I'm here. I'm ride or die with all of it. And then
Thank you for saving us from Webb. Like, thank you. You
I definitely remember a moment. I think it was we'll get to it, but it was at Whistling Straits where he talked after a pretty poor performance in the 15 PGA, and one of the golf writers sort of turned to the rest of the golf writers and said, Rory was really good. He talked about Jordan Spieth kind of becoming number one, and he was really complimentary, really nice, like funny. And one of the golf writers turned to the rest of us and said, man, like, we don't realize how good we've got it. Like, it's not usually like this. The number one player in the world being like friendly, charismatic, like willing to stop for press stuff. Like, this is not how it's always going to be. And as we can sort of see, like, that's, Scotty's certainly nice and friendly, but it's not quite the same sort of charm, I guess. In the 2015 Masters, if you don't remember, Rory opens with 71-71, which seems like a decent score, but at this moment, he is 12 shots behind eventual winner Jordan Spieth. He shoots 68-66 over the weekend, which, of course, becomes a theme later on, but he's out of contention. But it does make him feel like he leaves Augusta with very positive feelings. It's just a matter of putting it all together, Rory says after the final round, congratulating Spieth for closing things off. So moving on to 2015, he shows up at the U.S. Open at Chambers Bay.
as
And
do you, Kev. This is the first time we
do
met.
I. DJ and I first meet here. We're a meeting of the young golf minds in the world. We're gathering at a shitty bar in Tacoma to sort of to talk about how we're going to, upend the system, tear apart at all the old media guards. Rory is asked in a press conference if he feels like he's actually the best player in the world, to which he says, do I feel like I'm the best player in the world? Yes. I think about when LeBron says that, that's not
You want to fucking play me, man?
Yeah.
Why don't you come on?
Yeah. That's not confidence. That's a fact. When you look at how he's carried his team to these finals, if you look at the numbers, you can really see he's the best player in the world. And for me, I feel like when I look at the world rankings and I see my name up at the top, if you look back the last 4 or 5 years, I guess I've won more majors than anybody else in that time. So kind of like a fuck you. Like, oh, you think like this new kid Spieth is like the new guy on the block? Yeah, I'm still the big dog in the world.
Which I will say, like, if you have to say it, are you? Like, that's the only, if it wasn't, if that's maybe a slight look into how maybe why things didn't go the way they did for the next whatever 10 years is like, all right, that's not like I don't know if like that's the vibe I need out of you, Rory. Just go beat people's ass. Like, I don't need you to say it. Like, it doesn't really matter what guys' rankings are in golf. I don't know.
Tough question though. I'll give him some credit. That's
Yep.
I don't know what a good answer to that one would have been, other than just like I don't. That's not really what I think about. Next question.
No, I
But I
could do it
think
right
trying
now.
to
You
be
want
like,
me to?
oh, I don't know, like Jordan's, I could never play on his level,
No,
like, and I being able to like he took it in an ultra confident level.
no,
I don't know.
hit me with it. Hit me with the question. I can do it better. I can
Oh,
answer
do
it
you
better
think
than
you're the best player at NLU?
it does matter what I think, but it only matters internally, right? When I go tee it up, I do feel like I am the best player, right? And
Sure.
you can let recent results can lead people to different conclusions, but I have to have that when I go play, right? I have to be telling myself that I am that player. That's the best way to get the best golf out of myself, which is all I'm currently focused on right now. So
Sure.
people can have their opinions, but all that really matters is the final result. And I'm just focused on whatever I can do to get the best possible result this week.
And if he had followed that playbook, I think we wouldn't even be having this conversation. I think it would have been like, that guy's fucking boring, man. Like that. Next.
I think it's not an opinion; it's a fact. And then like pulling the brawn out of it, I'm good with that.
I'm
quote.
for it. I'm with you. I'm with you.
All right, at Chambers Bay, if you remember, a bit of a controversial venue. Roy referred to the greens as like putting on cauliflower because they are not even green.
I will never hear the words Chambers Bay and not think of. I won't steal the line from you, but it's.
Chambers Bay, of course, if you remember from our Gary Player podcast, is the where the Gary Player impression was born, and Chambers Bay of Pigs. This will never not make me laugh.
Which
Apologies to any.
Gary Player didn't actually say, but you
No.
in your Gary Player impersonation called it Chambers Bay of Pigs, and
Much like
my
the Sarah Palin thing, where like Tina Fey made people think that Sarah Palin had said, "I can see Russia from my house," which she never actually said. Like, I think that maybe people will someday, at least in our generation of golf media, will think that Gary Player said Chambers Bay of Pigs, but not really. Back to the golf. Despite what Roy will refer to as probably the best week he's ever hit the ball in ball striking, he gets off to a very uninspired start, 72-72, and again watches Jordan Spieth jump out to a lead. But finally on the weekend, something clicks. Rory begins Sunday at +4, but he makes 6 birdies and no bogeys through 13 holes. Pretty good run at a U.S. Open. He climbs to within 3 shots of the lead at one point, but misses a putt from about 13 feet on 14. That would have been a 7th birdie, and then bogeys 15, ruining any chances of a comeback. I was flirting with perhaps the greatest round in U.S. Open history at that point. Could have, potentially shot 62. Turned to caddy JP Fitzgerald during the tournament and said, after a difficult third round, "Thank God I've got one of these already." Reference to his 2011 U.S. Open win. Jordan Spieth wins his 2nd consecutive major at this point.
which none of us watching on TV had any idea what the fuck was going on in this tournament. It was Fox's first U.S. Open. The course was a disaster. The greens, like nobody understood. All these runs are happening, but they don't know how to follow groups properly, and so we have no like proper attribution of anyone's runs or where things were on the leaderboard. USGA messed up the setup from day to day, and like scores would get really low one day and then higher the next day. It was a
So sick.
total shit show.
And the par 5 that changed
Oh,
to a par 4
so
each
good.
day, like that was. I kind of think the Chambers Bay. We ought to do like a whole deep dive just on Chambers Bay.
That'd be
For
sweet.
sure. One of my rare I think takes that I got right at the time, which is like, listen, the greens very, very bad. Everything else about this fucking rules. Like this is awesome, man. This is the kind of golf I like to watch. It was very tough spectator routing, I remember, because like basically spectators could only be on like the outside of the property, which
That was
meant you
tough.
couldn't really get close to any of the golf. But it was I don't know. It was kind of one of the. I remember that one hurting from a Rory perspective, pretty badly. But I think the Spieth run was just making the pill much easier to swallow. There, that was pretty damn fun.
All right, guys. So, of course, the next major is at St. Andrews. It's the first time we've been back at the old course in 5 years.
Biggest what if in the history of golf here.
Yeah, seriously.
Right?
Rory, of course, has tied the course record at St. Andrews the previous time there. Infamously went 63-80 in those 2 rounds, and catching a bad side of the draw the
JT style.
time. So everyone thinks like, oh my goodness, like Rory is absolutely going to go like reestablish like he's the true links master, right? Like St. Andrews only comes along every once in a while. Of course, what happens in the lead up to the St. Andrews Open? Rory announces on Instagram that he has ruptured a ligament in his left ankle playing soccer with his friends, football, sorry,
with the
playing football
boys.
with his friends, with the boys, and will have to miss the championship. I thought I broke it, Rory says later when he talks to media, because as soon as I went over, I heard a snap. He is disappointed, but he vows to keep playing football. Anytime I go back home, one of those things that I regularly do with my friends is play football. It was like the fourth or fifth time in a 10-day period where I'd played football. I enjoy it. We all enjoy it. It's just unfortunate that it happened. Much to TC's chagrin, Zach Johnson wins the Open in a playoff against Louis Oosthuizen and Mark Leishman. Guys, any thoughts remembering this, how it played out?
I mean, Spieth was what I remember. Solly, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that was the week that you and I met. Big
course.
big
And
couple
big guy,
months
yeah.
for my social circles there.
Roy really brought us all together. That's another reason to
Exactly.
do this.
I think other than if Spieth would have won and had the first 3 legs of the Grand Slam, obviously I would have a little different tone. But yeah, just throw this one out completely. This is like the Hail American Open when everyone's over it playing, fight World War II. Like this, this doesn't count. Rory would have won this by 8 at least.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, it was only 15 under par that those guys were at. I know there's some wind in there, but this was like, I mean, yeah, he would have blown the doors off this one. I really do think so. And again, why you just missed like a major championship because you were playing football and you say you're going to keep doing this. Didn't he later say he wasn't going to do it anymore? I feel like remember him.
I think yes, that is one of the
Okay.
flip
a lot of
flops in
things.
Roy's life is that he later changed his mind and said, "I probably shouldn't be playing football in the lead up to." But remember, look, he's 26 at this point. He's totally invincible. Like he's got
time.
He's got 20 years of competitive golf. So there's no chance he's going to not win a major for 10 years. At the PGA Championship, Rory does return. It's the first time he's returned. He's been kind of hiding out in Portugal for 7 weeks, getting to get back his ankle ready. But he doesn't really quite have his A game. Opens 71-71 before 2 good rounds over the weekend allow him to finish T17. Jason Day outduels Jordan Spieth for his first major title. He says, I think it's already a lost year, where he's later at the Tour Championship, because I didn't win a major, summing things up. One of my biggest memories of this is I was kind of tailing him at this point for the profile that I was writing. And I heard him and Brooks talking on one of the, I want to say it's like one of the tees that's out by the water there in Whistling Straits. And they were talking about Tiger. And Brooks was like, why wouldn't he play? Like they were talking about the Wyndham, because Tiger was thinking about ending the Wyndham. Why wouldn't he play in the final year? Like, well, maybe you get a win, maybe you like change your whole year around. And Roy was like, yeah, but like, you got to understand, like his life's changing. He's a dad now. Like he's got to spend, time with his family. And I was like, man, deep down, like Rory is talking about himself. Like he is realizing that like he's starting to understand like what Tiger was wrestling with later in his career, is that, you can't just be like an absolute alpha killer in some ways. You gotta like balance things with family life and whatever. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting window into that sort of how he was kind of wrestling with some of those themes in his life.
Well, remember, like, too, I mean, Old Course was setting up great for him. Like, he was a shot out of the playoff in 2010 at Whistling Straits. Like, this was, you don't get to come back to venues that short a time period that you've had success at that often in major championships. Like, that was also another really good shot for him.
But of course, we're going back to the Masters in 2016, right? There's no way that like he's got to win the career Grand Slam. Like, come on, guys! Like this is a sure thing. This is only his second attempt, but he decides in this lead up to 2016 to steer clear of Augusta prior to the tournament. Just doesn't even visit it in the spring or in the week ahead.
I'm gonna tally these up. So, like how many steer clears and how many I'm going to go in advance there are. I don't know if you have all of that, but
I think we do.
Okay, I have one
theme in the research here.
I have one steer clear here for 2016. You know what he did in 2015? Was it? Do you remember?
I do not know what he did in 2015.
We'll count it going forward. Okay.
Yeah. All right. We might have to go back for that just to make sure at the end.
Sorry, real quick, going into the Masters, because this will be a theme. Solly, maybe this is for you, but like, can you drill down on just like why the Masters became the big gigantic circled thing that it, other than the career Grand Slam, can you illustrate for me why it became so obvious that he was going to win the Masters? Because I look at a guy like Scotty And I'm like, okay, like knowing what we know about golf now and the modern game, like that makes a lot more sense to me than necessarily Rory. I mean, I think it was like his driver just being a weapon, but it's like it's kind of the whole thing is like you don't have to drive it that good at Augusta. You just kind of got to drive it pretty far. His iron play was really good, but it wasn't ever like generational. His putting was solid, but it wasn't ever like generational. So I guess what I'm getting at is like, did we almost kind of mess that one up with expectations? Where like, and is he as good of a fit for Augusta as everybody thought he was then?
It's a great question. I think honestly, it goes back to him taking a 4-shot lead into the final
Mhm.
round in 2011 at age 21. And like the previous guy that did that went on to win now 5 green jackets by the time this was all done, but it was 4 at this time. And it
I thought
was
you were talking
just
about Spieth for a second.
we're not there yet, but I had done that, and it just was like, oh yeah, he had a bad Sunday, like but he's tailor made for this course, like, and people just said that on repeat, and I think we were kind of force fed into believing that. I mean, I was probably more impressionable there than I was reaching my own conclusions in the early 2010s, but like so he did that, like had the terrible Sunday, and then went and blew the doors off Congressional. It was like, yeah,
Yeah.
dude, this guy's gonna be an absolute force in these major championships. He hits it high, hits it
Which just
far.
like
Yep,
couldn't be more different golf courses,
totally.
those 2. Like
Yeah.
Congressional at that time especially. And I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, man, why did everybody get so obsessed with this idea that it would be like a joke if he doesn't win here? I'm like, is it literally just because like he hits a high draw off the tee? Because like I think that's kind of an antiquated way to look
Yeah.
at it too.
Well,
I think it
it
was
is.
everyone thought too, like, oh, he just had one bad round in 2011, right? Like he's so at ease here, like he just is tailor made for this place. Like he just is obviously he's meant to win a Masters, and like the Masters just doesn't quite work like that. Like it
Yeah.
haunts some people for a long fucking time.
And I think it's a
I mean,
place too where there's like a lot of horses for like all the greats have been really good there. Like
yeah.
Nicholas made that place his bitch. Like Mickelson just like abused that place. Tiger, obviously, like the same people like contended, and it kind of the same characteristics of I don't know, hitting it high, can shape it, all that stuff. But I don't know, man. There was something about like I remember feeling this honestly in 2014 when he won at Hoylake. That
Mhm.
feeling of like, oh shit, like forever now. It's gonna for as long as until it takes him to win one. He's gonna have to like do the 8-month, 9-month wait, between majors and show up at Augusta with like that being the lead storyline. Like there's no avoiding this now. Like the spotlight is on. This is the only one you need. It was almost easier before he won the Open Championship.
Yeah.
When you have to complete the slam by winning the Masters, it's fucking brutal. Like it's just so different. Nobody ever writes about Jordan Spieth just has to win the PGA Championship to complete the Grand Slam. It's just like that's not even a story going into every PGA, but it is never ever not the lead thing that Rory gets asked in any of this stuff as he comes into every Masters.
Yeah.
Anyway, to 2016, first approach at doing things a little differently. I'm pretty for sure I remember in 2015 he came early, played a ton, super prep, and just kind of got like a little bit overhyped and ran into the Spieth buzzsaw. But in 2016, says I made the decision not to come up early this time. The course changed. Course doesn't change year to year unless there is a couple of subtle things that have to do with some of the green complexes. But the course we saw last year is pretty much the same as the courses we're seeing this year. I really feel like I play my best golf when I'm more relaxed and when I'm having fun out there and not overdoing it and not overthinking it. Unlike 2015, Rory is in contention going into the weekend. He opens with 70-71, but of course, scoring is kind of down that year, so it's good for solo second, trailing Jordan Spieth by 1 stroke. The hype going into Saturday, it was a pairing between McIlroy and Spieth is considerable. This feels like the beginning of a true rivalry. But McIlroy is sort of flummoxed by high winds and tough conditions on Saturday, shooting 77. He fails to make a birdie. The first time that has happened in 81 rounds that he's played in a major. Jordan Spieth was sometimes 30 and 40 yards behind Rory on this Saturday, but shoots 73 despite sort of that thing. And Rory, infamously, in one of our favorite things, talks to the media afterwards, and he had said, "I turned around after 15 and I looked at I looked at my caddy and then at Jordan and said, how the hell is he 2 under par today?" But it's his most impressive asset. As much as it could be annoying to some of his competitors, it's very, very impressive. And of course, Jordan Spieth wins the Masters that year. Oh no, wait, sorry, Jordan collapses on Sunday, and Jake Willett comes from behind. Rory shoots 71 on Sunday and ends up 6 shots behind Willett in victory.
To your question, DJ, I went and looked this up, and to my knowledge, I think this is accounting for all Augusta performances and not just the 5 years. But it's a little confusing when you go to Data Golf Course History Tool. So, like the top players at Augusta on their true strokes gained for their their careers, and look at how this kind of arcs is like older guys get punished the longer you play in it because you know you're gonna get hurt on this. But obviously, Scotty is number one, plus 3.3. Jordan's still second at plus 2.6. Rahm is plus 2.5. Morikawa plus 2.36. Phil plus 2.2. Tiger plus 2.1. Rose 2.05. Cam Smith plus 1.99. Rory plus 1.96. And Rory is the only guy in the top 20 of guys that like based on their true strokes gained at Augusta that is performing under what he's expected to perform there. Everybody else is like a better course fit for Augusta or performs above their normal expectation as a player, except for Rory is minus 0.02. Like it's tiny, but everybody else has green bars and he's the only one that does not.
Man.
Sick.
I mean, all that to say is like he's not a massive course fit. Like it's very normal course for him, but it's not like it is not proven over a large set of data to be a big course fit for him.
And in a way, like not to jump on the end here, but it's like looking at him at Pinehurst and even LACC and spots is like, man, that's more like the golf you would have needed to play at Augusta during these years to go win there, right? Like he does seem like he's gotten more precise with his irons at these types of tournaments. He's gotten more patient. He's a different player than he almost was at these majors that we're going to go through and recount.
With the 2024 golf season coming to a close, it's time to take a moment to celebrate your 2024 season with Gen Rewind, brought to you by Century Insurance. Gen Rewind has evolved from, the single page image to now a multi-slide interactive experience. The new format lets golfers dive deeper into their season with a richer, more engaging presentation of their data. It shows you your handicap index changes throughout the year, your best, and you're not so good rounds along the way, the easiest and hardest courses you played, total number of rounds you played, where you played the most. The Gen Rewind is presented by Century Insurance, is now live in the USGA Gen app. Update your app to see your full 2024 recap and relive the moments that defined your success. You can also easily share your Gen Rewind with friends or on social media. You can compare highlights, who had the better year on the course. If you don't already have a handicap index, now is the perfect time to sign up and download the USGA Gen app presented by Century Insurance so you can post your scores, track your handicap index, and unlock personal golf insights like Gen Rewind. Sign up for a handicap index today at usga.org/getahandicap and download the USGA Gen app to prepare for an amazing 2025 season. We're also going to be doing a deep dive into our Gen Rewinds on the December 22nd episode of the No Laying Up podcast. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll also be sharing our Gen Rewind highlights on our social media channels, mostly on the No Laying Up Instagram. And we'll be discussing the feature in depth next week. Thanks to our friends at the USGA and Century Insurance. Now back to the pod.
As we will see here, this year's U.S. Open is at Oakmont Country Club. He enters as one of the pre-tournament favorites, having won the Irish Open that year and finished fourth at the Memorial the week prior. But unfortunately, Roy shoots 77 in the opening round. Trying to play conservatively off the tee, he misses several fairways with long irons.
I know that game.
It's his worst round at the U.S. Open since 2012, and it leads to his first missed cut in a major in 3 years. However, he does get involved in the championship from his couch when the USGA informs Dustin Johnson that he might be penalized after his round for causing his ball to move on the 12th green. McIlroy leads an avalanche of criticism on Twitter, firing off several barbs at the USGA. The first one is, "This is ridiculous. No penalty whatsoever for DJ. Let the guy play without this crap in his head. Amateur hour from at the USGA." I've always loved that he was tagging the USGA each one of these. "This isn't right for anyone on that golf course," he says in another tweet. "If it was me, I wouldn't hit another shot until this farce was rectified." Then when Dustin Johnson hits his approach on the 18th hole to a few feet, rendering any potential penalty irrelevant, McIlroy lets one final tweet fly.
Take that,
USGA.
I love that. Which, going back to last year on this, I kind of maybe had forgotten about that Rory quote of "Thank God I have one of these." That's not what we're looking for. That's not the mindset we're looking for U.S. Opens. That's marrying that up with what happened at Pinehurst this past year of like, man, if your attitude in 2015 was like, well, I don't know if I can win another one of these, that's tough.
The Open Championship this year is at Royal Troon 2016. The interesting prep here, McIlroy confesses he's never played Royal Troon prior to this week, but he doesn't see it as a big disadvantage, despite making an 8 on the postage stamp in a practice round. He's just happy to be playing in the Open again, having missed it the year prior. Asked if he thinks that Spieth, Jason Day, and Dustin Johnson and himself are the game's big four, McIlroy points out how far those three have to go to accomplish what he already has. Sully echoing what he'll say later. I've got 4 major championships, and I'd love to add to that tally, just as those guys would love to add to their 1 or 2 majors they have, just to keep going. As we
Those
remember, of
little
course,
boys.
I do not remember this, but Roy actually finishes 5th in this Open Championship, but never even comes close to contending because Stenson and Mickelson just pull away from the field. Stenson wins by 3 strokes, an astonishing 14 shots better than third place finisher JB Holmes. So Roy's well back of this one. But that's okay because we've got another great track coming up, another long kind of Bomber's Paradise, Baltusrol, the Sral, in the final major of the year. In his pre-tournament press conference at Baltusrol, Rory is asked to assess his year so far. He says, as for a grade, I'd say a B minus maybe. I could change that into an A plus on Sunday. There's a lot of golf left, last major of the year, and I want to give it my all and get in the mix and try to win another one of these things before I have to wait another 8 months to try to get another opportunity at Augusta this year.
This one's maybe the worst luck since they simulated this whole major. It seems like Rory would have won.
You
Right?
would think a green screen would have been way better.
Yeah.
Whoever,
Like one of those weird NBA lottery years or something. It's like, how did
I
these
don't know
guys
who
all
was
win?
who was running the PGA of America this year, but they really got this simulation wrong. In his opening round, Rory shoots a miserable 74, failing again to make any birdies, but he follows it up with a 69, yet he still misses the cut. His putting woes are becoming a reoccurring issue. I'm happy with my game from tee to green, and I'm driving the ball as well as I ever have. It's when I get on the greens that it's a different story. I'm struggling. Yeah, it's hard, he says.
Damn.
2017 rolls around. This is his 3rd attempt at winning the career Grand Slam in 2017. He's going to the Masters. Rory reveals that he has changed his approach. So I get your pen out and mark this one down. In the 2 weeks prior to the tournament, he came to Augusta National and played 99 holes of prep. I think it's been a relatively quiet buildup to the Masters for me, which has been quite nice, Rory says. It's made a bit of a change from the last couple of years, especially 15, coming off the back of 2 major wins in a row, going for the career Grand Slam. I've realized that the more comfortable I can get with this golf course and the club as a whole, the more comfortable in the environment and surroundings, the better. He also suggests that he's more comfortable in his own skin now than he has ever been. When you're in your 20s, I feel like you're still searching for who you are, Rory says. Everyone goes through that awkward stage in their lives. Not that they're lost, but what's important to you and what's not important to you. You figure out some of those things that are important to you and are important to others and vice versa. So you can't please everyone. I think the more comfortable I'm in my own skin and my own convictions, and that's when I realized I just have to live my life the way I do. Some people will like that and some people won't. Those people are the ones that really matter to me. The ones that do, they support me 100%, and that is great. Anyone remember how things go in this Masters?
2017. This is Sergio's year. I'm guessing it doesn't go great.
Yeah, I don't
All kind of
remember
bleed
much.
together.
He doesn't win.
Yeah, I know that.
Oh, that's correct. Good guess. Another slow start dooms Rory's success. He starts out 72, 73, 71, doesn't break 70 until Sunday, shoots 69, but finishes 6 shots behind Sergio and Justin Rose, who end up in a playoff. Afterwards, Rory is asked about his impending marriage to Erica Stahl, who he met while she was working for the PGA of America. I'm excited, he says. It's a great time in my life. It would have been nice to walk down the aisle in a green jacket. Oh, what a hard quote. On to the U.S. Open, which is at DJ's home club, Erin Hills, this year.
That's right.
He enters the U.S. Open nursing a rib injury that has been bugging him throughout the year, but he doesn't believe it will stop him from contending. Asked what he thinks about the fact that the USGA is cutting down some of the fescue at Erin Hills in response to player criticism, McIlroy scoffs. We have 60 yards from left to right from the left line to the right line, he says. You got 156 of the best players in the world here. And if you can't hit it within that avenue, you might as well pack your bags and go home. These are the widest fairways we've ever played in the U.S. Open.
And then he packed his
Unfortunately,
bags.
Rory is one of those players
Yeah.
packing his bags. He shoots 78 in the opening round,
What?
follows it up with a 71 and misses the cut.
Careful what you say about Aaron Hills here, since our NLU Club Championship is just about to drop, and everyone's going to get to watch you guys go play this golf course.
It's probably already out as of the time of the publish of this
I am
episode.
decidedly not one of the 156 best players in the world. So if you see
Kev's
me
bitching about the rough. Why did they mow this shit down?
It was outrageous. I was dropping water bottles. Remember, I think Kevin Na was dropping water bottles, watching him disappear into that. Brooks Koepka, a player who will eventually pass McIlroy in total major victories, spoiler, wins his first major championship.
God, he was so good that week. Just watching him just completely suffocate that field was a core memory.
Yeah. Also in contention that week, Ricky Fowler and Justin Thomas, Brian Harmon, names that are still sticking around. Not a lot of names are always still popping up on this, like Rory, but a few here and there. On to Royal Birkdale for the Open Championship this year. He is no longer considered one of the favorites.
How did Rory not play good at Aaron Hills, man? Like that is. How are we shooting 78 out there? The only way you shoot 78 is if like you drive it horrible out there, right? And
I remember him hitting like I walked the round because he was paired with, it was like a super pairing of like Jason Day, Dustin Johnson, and Rory McIlroy, and they all three missed the cut, and they were just like completely. And there wasn't even any wind that week, which is crazy. They were just completely lost, just like firing like long irons into the fescue.
Oh man. We can maybe talk about this on another pod, but the Rory's trophy case with the associated golf courses on them would not make a good tourist sauce season. You know, there's like every time we get to the Chambers Bay, the Aaron Hills, it's like kind of vacates himself a little bit, which is a bummer. I don't know what would be like the most creative golf course he's won on.
I mean, Hoylake's not like
that's
the most straightforward golf course. I know it was soft a little bit. It was green that week, but probably his best.
Yeah.
I can look up his
those Irish Opens ever at any one of the good courses. He didn't win when it was at.
I think he won K Club in 2016. CJ, Bridgestone. He won.
That's what I'm saying, guys. It's not good.
Dove Mountain match play, I think, in 2015. Quail Hollow.
Kiowa.
Bay Hill. I'd say Sawgrass. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Deej may have unveiled something that we didn't really possibly consider. That,
anyways,
Renaissance, DPC Louisiana, Quail Hollow again.
Not sure if you guys remember this, but prior to the Open Championship at Birkdale, Rory was kind of in a stink session here. He'd missed the cut at both the Irish Open and the Scottish Open. Pre-tournament odds listed him as 20-1. If I saw my form the last couple of weeks, I'd say that's a pretty fair price, Rory says. But all it takes is one good week. It's a good time to back me, I think. He's recently gotten married prior to this one.
Also, this was the summer I was following I went to the Irish Open, Scottish Open, and the Open Championship, and Rory kept missing the cut.
You're the cooler, not me.
I went to all of those. It was wild.
A newly married McIlroy says a win is not going to change his life. I want to win this week, but I don't need to win. A second Open Championship isn't going to change my life, but I want to win. It looks like Rory is DOA as he plays the first 5 holes in 5 over. But walking off to the 6th hole, caddy JP Fitzgerald unloads on him for the first time in their relationship, lashing out at what he sees as Rory's indifference. You're Rory McIlroy. What the fuck are you doing? Fitzgerald says. The pep talk lights a fire in Rory, and he proceeds to birdie 4 holes on the back 9, clawing his way back into the championship. On Sunday, he pulls to within 4 of Jordan Spieth at one point, but he can't quite climb into contention. He finishes T4, shooting 69-67 over the weekend. Go ahead.
Being there that week was like that hammered home to me, and maybe this is obvious or should have been obvious to me, like how popular he was in Europe, like how the fans not just cheering him on, but like urging him on, like very passionate, like come on, Rory, come on. When he was making runs, like that is something that stands out. Like I remember trying to follow him around the 10th hole, a dogleg left, and like just not being able to find a spot, and the actual real buzz on the ground for following, even on not his best week, was like, oh shit, man, Rory's a big deal over here.
We didn't have ropes passes back then, so we
No.
were on Media Outsiders at that point.
Yeah.
So afterwards, he's sort of talking with the press. He says, "These things happen." Rory says, "You look at Jack Nicklaus, and he went through a stretch where he didn't win a major for 3 years. I'm not comparing myself to Jack. It's hard to win them. It's very hard. It's the reason, especially this generation, excluding Tiger, no one's got 5. So it's tough. But you have a 20 to 30 year window where you can win them. I got off to a great start in my career, but as I've said, I've still got 15 to 20 more years to add to that tally. But look, yeah, I feel like the last 3 years has been too long. At the same time, I'm not going to rush it. I'm not going to be impatient. I'm just going to play my game, and hopefully my chance arrives at some point and I'm able to take it." Of course, now we're going to Quail Hollow, right? Because we're just going to dominate Quail Hollow. I'm sorry. Like, just it's going to happen. This is a place where it's always been like a home away from home from him. Rory
First
shows
tour
up.
victory.
Yeah. Shot what, 61 there to sort of
62, I think. Yeah.
62 to get that. Surprisingly, Rory shows up at Quail Hollow, though, without his regular caddy. He says he and Fitzgerald will not be working together anymore. "It's been on my mind for a while," Rory says. "I don't know. It's one of those things. I guess I was trying to accomplish more of a clutter-free mindset on the golf course, trying to take a little bit more responsibility. I feel like if I make a decision, that's mine and I own it. And even if it's good or bad, I can accept that myself." And I alluded to it last week as well. I was getting very hard on JP, probably harder than I should have been. But it was more, I just didn't want to have that frustration on the golf course. So that's really what I'm trying to accomplish. McIlroy's childhood friend, Harry Diamond, is working for him on what he says essentially will be a temporary basis. The PGA Championship Quail Hollow will be their first major together, and he's still thinking about who might caddy for him full-time going forward. "We've been inundated with people who wanting to have a chance on the bag," McIlroy says. "I can't really think about that until next week, until I have a week off, and then I can just reassess how these couple of weeks have went with Harry on the bag."
Question for you
Uh,
guys. If Rory called either of you and was like, "Hey, I want you to caddy full time for me next year," would you drop what you're doing and do that? Yeah.
DJ,
sure.
put that a child. If that stuff comes
Oh,
out,
I thought
you're
you were
not
saying
giving
in
that up for it.
2017.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like right now. No, no. As of right now, he would call you and just be like,
That
"Next
would
year,
be
I want you on me. I want you on my bag full time."
tough.
I think I
Yeah.
would do it. Yeah, I would. I'd have weekly check-ins on the NLU podcast with how things are going. Well, guys, we flew a wedge long again. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like,
But
trying to
make
get him to hit a sawed-off one.
it
It's
make
tough.
make for a heck of a blog.
Yeah.
You could
Would be.
write
Be a
about
great book.
that. Yeah, exactly.
Rory, if you're listening, if you want me
Yeah,
to, do a stint, we can work out a
sure.
price lower than Harry's. Despite a tremendous track record of success at Quail Hollow, McIlroy doesn't break par for the first 3 rounds. A 69 on Sunday helps him finish in 22nd place, but another year has come and gone without winning a major. "It's tough," he says. "I want to get back in the winner's circle. You don't want to be teeing off at 9:45 on the final rounds of a major on Sunday. That's not where you want to be."
What a good
Justin
quote.
Thomas wins his first major, outdueling Hideki Matsuyama and Louis Oosthuizen. And he gives Sully a high five on his way to the. You were there, I believe.
Guys,
Right, Sully?
I didn't even remember that he said this, but we are talking about going into the season, and he was like boldly, he's like, I'm definitely going to win at least one major this year," and took all the way to the very end. But he is walking to go get the trophy, and he sees me standing over there, and I don't even remember that he said this, but he just gives me a dap. He goes, "I told you I was going to fucking win a major this year," and little did I know it was on CBS, and the cameras caught the whole thing. And I thought that was very funny that he was thinking of that in that moment, going to go collect this trophy.
All right, guys, 2018. We're back at the
year.
Masters,
This is the
right?
year. I
This
can
has
feel
got
it.
to be the year.
What are we doing?
Rory wins the Arnold Palmer Invitation in the build-up to the Masters. His first win since 2016. He went all of 17 without like a PGA Tour victory.
Crazy Faxon putting year
Yes.
where he just made like literally everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
He says he feels good about his game. He feels like he's finally getting comfortable with Augusta, and admits that in 2015 he let the hype of the career Grand Slam get in his head. "I'm an avid fan of the history of the game, and I know a win here and what that would mean and what it would put me in history alongside some of the greatest who have ever played this game, and that would mean an awful lot to me. But I have to try to clear my head and come out Thursday morning and go out and play good golf, hit good golf shots, have to have good course management and hole putts." For the first time in several years, Rory gets off to a very good start at Augusta, shooting a first round 69.
Do you remember what his approach was? Did he come early or?
Did not
Okay.
list that. I'm
Okay.
sorry. If I'd have known we were going to approach, I would have got better. He follows it up with a 71 on Friday, but shoots a 65 on Saturday, his best round at Augusta since 2011, and it gets him into the final pairing with Patrick
P.
Reed. He trails by 3, but he knows this is his best chance to win a major since 2014.
This sucked.
This is truly
This
solid.
day sucked, man.
So bad.
Opening tee shot was one of the. I mean, just like first pitch, a home run for the
A
opposite team.
3-run homer on the first pitch.
Somehow on the first.
Well,
batter
not
of the
quite.
game.
If you remember, Rory hit his tee shot out on Washington Road, but he made a par, and Patrick Reed made a bogey on the first hole. It
Still.
feels now like Rory like blew the whole thing by
that's
wiping
true.
it way right, but he has a putt. Okay, well, I'll get to that in a sec. Patrick is going for his first, Rory says, and I'm going for something else. It's going to be good fun. Despite considerable crowd support, McIlroy insists that he is the underdog going into Sunday. I feel like all the pressure is on him, Rory says. He's got to go out and protect that, and he's got a few guys chasing him that are some pretty big-time players. He's got to deal with it and sleep on it tonight. I feel like I can go out there and play like I've got nothing to lose. If I can do that, I feel like I'll be okay. Unfortunately for
I
Rory,
don't want
he
to
does
be
not
around
play.
him. I want to get.
I don't want to be
around
around for this.
KVV.
Sorry. Unfortunately for Rory, he does not play like he has nothing to lose on Sunday. Even though Reed bogeys the first hole and McIlroy birdies the second hole, a missed eagle putt on number 2 seems to let all the air out of Rory. He hits only 8 greens on the day. Only 4 players in the entire field, shoot a worse score than his 74. It wasn't as if nerves got to me, McIlroy said. I just didn't quite have it. Patrick Reed wins his first major, holding off Ricky Fowler and Jordan Spieth.
And Jordan Spieth, who shot one of the greatest rounds in major championship.
Who basically won that Masters,
Yeah.
I think.
God, that day that part was sick of that day, Deej. That run on the back 9.
Yeah. I don't know. It felt like the whole. It felt like it was doomed by that point. The missed eagle putt was like. I feel like that was the first real like. This guy, man, come on. I think I had been making excuses for all the other ones leading up to that one. I think that was the first time I was like, all right, this might not be it.
Yeah, it was the first time that like the true disappointment of like, oh man, like this is gonna happen. Like this is goes against all the things I want in life. US Open's going to Shinnecock. Seems like, hey, this would be a good venue for him, like it's kind of a great, as we were saying, maybe he just doesn't play great.
Horrible venue. Great golf course.
Yeah, doesn't go well at all right from the start. Plays his worst round in a major since the Augusta collapse in 2018 or 2011. He shoots an 80 that includes 7 bogeys and 3 double bogeys. Second round 70 is sort of serviceable, but not enough to make the cut, sending him home. I felt like my game was good coming in here, McIlroy said. I just think I was blown away by the wind yesterday. That was the thing. I mean, I haven't played in a wind like that for quite a long time. It is his 3rd straight missed cut at the US Open.
Jeez. This is where it's starting to be like, all right, man, like are we saying like the course and the conditions have to be like perfect for you to like just even be around? Like that, I don't love that. Like that's not a great sign. You got to create like opportunities here.
I will say 3 straight cuts missing the US Open forced him to sort of change his approach and mentality. He gets to be a much better US Open player in the future, and I think that's sort of the impetus of it is these 3 straight missed cuts. Like going into Shinnecock, just getting the doors blown off was finally like a wake-up call. But we're going to Carnoustie. Carnoustie marks 4 years since Rory last won a major, and the press is starting to wonder if his pressure is getting to him. Does he need another major to cement his legacy? At this point, I'm not trying to cement anything.
All the boys are talking about that down at the bar.
I mean,
We're talking about
press
cementing
we've
his
been
legacy.
saying
Yeah.
you might be a fraud if you don't win another major. At this point, I'm not trying to cement anything, McIlroy says. Obviously, I've had a decent career up to this point, and I've got a lot of time to add to my major tally or just tournaments or whatever. It's hard to win any week on tour, let alone the big 4 every year. Look, I had a nice run there from 2011 to 2014, and I haven't won one since, but I'm trying. I'm trying my best every time I tee it up. It just hasn't happened. I'll give it a good go this week. McIlroy climbs into contention, opening with 2 straight rounds of 69. A star-studded leaderboard has everyone abuzz, though, particularly with Tiger Woods back in contention for the first time in several years. Tiger even leads at one point on Sunday before fading a bit. In the final round, Rory eagles the 14th hole to tie for the lead.
What a good
His
golfer
best
today.
chance to win a major since 2014 is staring at him right in the face, but he can't muster any more birdies down the stretch, and Francisco Molinari wins by 2 strokes. Rory finishes T2. Just right there for the taking.
Ugh.
Tiger's double on 11 was more painful than Rory not winning this because he got into the lead. But Francesco was he was a boss that day.
Yeah,
he was efficient.
I have no regrets, Rory said. I played the way I wanted to play this week. It gives me a lot of encouragement going into the final major of the year. I just ran out of holes. Well, surely he's going to play great at Bellerive, right? Well, Bellerive
Now
meets
we're
our
talking.
criteria, dude.
Now
Shitty
we're
course, got to hit driver every
Yeah.
single hole. I'm going to come out and maybe call this one of the most forgettable majors of this entire run.
Yeah.
But we'll get there in a sec. With a chance to hit driver on most of the holes, Bellerive's looks like should be perfect setup for Rory's game. In a pre-tournament press conference, he once again asked if winning majors is testing his patience. Yes and no, Rory says. I mean, even from 2014, I've given myself some half chances at majors. I think my best chance at Valhalla was the Open at Carnoustie, but in golf, you just have to be an eternal optimist. You have to make the most of everything and you have and see the positives and move on and forget about it. And that's one I've tried to do this year in the times where I haven't won and haven't played my best. I try to learn from it and move on. There's no point in reflecting too much or dwelling on it. Despite the optimism, Rory never hits anything going, opening with a 70, 6 shots back of first-round leader Gary Woodland. He gets stuck in neutral on the weekend, going +1, and it's one of his most forgettable majors. He finishes T50th, 14 shots worse than Brooks Koepka. Before he leaves St. Louis, McIlroy gets asked, how will he remember this major season? I probably won't, McIlroy said. I mean, I don't think there was anything memorable about it.
Oh,
yeah.
Excellent.
But okay, it's fine. It's like 2019 is coming around, right?
Yeah.
Like
At least
2019
now there's a global
Masters.
pandemic going on to take our minds off this.
Not quite. That's the following year. We'll get there. So he enters the 2019 Masters a strong favorite, based on some of his best form in years. In 8 starts, he's finished in the top 10 7 times, and he won the Players in the build-up to Augusta. In terms of true strokes gained, he's actually playing better in this year than he was in 2014. 538, getting into the sports writing game, describes this year this Masters as McIlroy's to lose because of the sort of data projection. McIlroy's ever quick to emphasize that he's not going to be defined by his golf. I think the big thing is I'm not my score. I am not my results, he says. We start sort of repeating kind of therapy mantras here, some of the kind of mental approach. Repeats he's been dabbling in meditation over the last year. I guess I've dabbled in over the years and I needed it from time to time, Rory says, but I've never fully immersed myself in it. It's searching until you find what resonates with you. Maybe what resonates with me isn't going to resonate with somebody else, but I've found what I feel is the best path forward and I've committed to it. You know, it's still so early in the process, so very early stages, but I just feel for me to live a healthier life, not just with my career, but away from the golf course as well. I needed some perspective and I needed to separate those two sort of lives that I have. You know, maybe
Love it.
I write this down. Mental approach, meditation. You know, it's not arriving early. It's not playing 99 holes, but you know, we're meditating. McIlroy makes 5 birdies in his opening round, but also 6 bogeys. A 73 that essentially puts him in chase mode for the rest of the tournament. Finishes T21, nothing but a footnote in one of history's most memorable majors as Tiger Woods wins his 5th green jacket. The press kind of needles Roy, says like, yeah, you know, you bummed. He says, it seems like you guys are more disappointed than I am. I'm good.
You know how much fucking money I've got, guys?
Guys, I'm fucking good. You know how fucking easy this is for me?
This kind of changes. I remember this approach distinctly as well. Just like, oh, I mean, it's my life's so good off the golf course. Like we're fine, and you can kind of see him trying on a bunch of different personalities here. I feel like, which this kind of this is kind of feels like the Scotty approach, except for he keeps winning too. But like I feel like if Scotty didn't win, he'd be like, ah, yeah, that sucked. I really wanted to win, but like, what are you gonna do?
But I believe Scotty, and
That's what I mean.
I don't believe Rory at all. He wants it so fucking bad. He's trying to convince himself.
And I was thinking about it's funny when you were going back talking, I forget where that was, at the Open, maybe, or at the Masters, when he was talking about like career Grand Slam and I'm a big student of history and I know what this would mean for my legacy. Like, do you think Scotty's ever sitting around just like, oh damn, Mayor, like I think this is really huge this could be huge for the way I'm perceived in the history of the game. Like, I think I just don't see that.
Mayor.
I don't see that happening, which is just a really funny difference to me.
Damn, Mayor.
Ah, damn, Mayor, like, they're gonna be talking about how I'm not one of the greats. Like, I don't
Okay.
I
I
don't
think from now on, like, oh, Mayor, what do you think?
Beckett, can you believe what they're saying about me out there?
man, damn.
Oh, Mayor, have
Bennett.
you seen my
Bennett,
Nikes? I
Bennett.
can't find them anywhere.
Bennett's
Yeah.
just kidding.
What's James Corrigan gonna write about me this week, Mayor? Come on.
Okay. We're on to the PGA, which is at Bethpage. McIlroy says he's a big fan of the PGA Championship moving to May, and he likes Bethpage Black as a golf course. He suspects it might even benefit his major chase. I have a pretty good record in May, he says. Rory's recently turned 30, which he's still trying to wrap his head around. I definitely don't feel 30. I mean, even just at the start of this press conference, this is my 11th PGA Championship, and I'm like, where did the time go? I don't know if you remember this, but Rory finishes T8th, but it's really not that memorable. After 2 rounds, he trails Brooks Koepka by 15 shots. Brooks stumbles a bit down the stretch, but holds on for his 4th major title, tying Rory's career. Afterwards, Rory's asked about it.
Quickly.
He says, I don't understand why he doesn't do it more often, Rory says. That's my thing. He obviously gets into these mindset of the majors, and he just really goes into a different sort of state. But that's what he's capable of, obviously, and it's awesome. On to the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. Right before Rory wins the Canadian Open, firing a sizzling 61 in the final round. But most of his focus is still on his major championship drought. The press wants to know. A lot of questions from the press. Hey, man, like, what would it mean to win a major?
Can you imagine?
Yeah. Yeah. Liberating and satisfying, he says. I mean, there's a lot of different words you could use to describe what it would feel like. Looking back at this, honestly, just pause for a sec here. I get sometimes why fucking being an athlete and
For sure.
sitting in
Oh,
press
God,
conference
yeah.
is so fucking miserable because it's okay. Look, it'd be one thing if like one person was asking the question every time, right? Because if I was the only Rory McIlroy like interviewer after everything, I probably wouldn't be like, "What would it mean to win a major?" Like,
For
"Oh,
sure.
hey man, like what would it mean to win a major?" Like after every single fucking tournament. But when there's like 50 people at everything, like somebody's gonna ask that question. So you just feel like, yo, dog, like just check the transcripts. Like
It
I've said all I need to say about
It's not even just the majors too, it's every tournament they go to.
Mhm.
I mean, you go to Pebble Beach, it's like, "Hey, such and such from the San Francisco Observer." I mean, what would it mean to win in a city like San Francisco? You know? And then you go to Colonial and the guy from the whatever, what's the Dallas Morning News? Uh,
Yeah, Star Ledger.
yeah, just I mean,
Hey
so much
man.
history in Dallas. What would it mean to you to win here in Dallas?
One
You
of my
know?
favorite moments, Deej, that I can remember in a press conference is when the guy who asks like every week, like, can Hideki win a
Yeah.
major? And he starts asking the question to Jordan Spieth at one of the majors. I can't remember. And Spieth is trying so hard not to laugh. Like he just knows the build up is like, hey, Hideki's like, he's been really improving his game. Like he's working hard. And Jordan's like just trying everything he can. He's got that like smile on his face. And at the end of it is like, can Hideki win a major? Jordan gave like a really polite answer, but it's like that question got asked so much, so often that the guys were just like waiting. Like, I hope I get the Hideki question.
God, it's so good.
All right. So Rory's asked, what would he mean to win a major? Yeah, I mean, liberating, satisfying. There's a lot of different words you could use to describe what it would feel like. At the U.S. Open Champions reunion last night, which was a lot of fun, I had a chat with Johnny Miller, and Johnny said, you look back at the history of major championships, that first round is so important. I said, my first rounds at Augusta Bethpage this year sort of put me behind the 8 ball. It's hard to catch up, especially, major championships are played on the toughest courses. And if you start to chase those really tough courses, it's hard to do that. And I think that's what sort of held me back a little bit. So, right on cue, Rory opens with a 68-69. He's only 4 shots back of Gary Woodland going into the weekend.
Hell yeah.
But the air sort of slowly leaks from the balloon over the weekend. 70-72 is good enough for another top 10 finish at a major, but he finishes 8 shots behind Woodland, which sort of says it all.
Man.
On to Royal Portrush, arguably the most anticipated major of Rory's career, considering he grew up in Hollywood, a little more than an hour away. He owns the course record, although he did a redo after he did this, having shot 61 as a teenager. On top of that, he is inundated with questions about the socio-political impact of the Open, returning to Northern Ireland for the first time in 68 years. Just exactly what you want to think about is whether you could reunite Ireland with a golf victory.
Gary Player solved apartheid. Like Rory,
True,
that's the least
true.
Rory could
That's
do.
true. I mean, if he really wanted to be considered an all-time great, you have to reunite a country. I think no matter what happens this week, if I win or if someone else wins, having the Open back in this country is a massive thing for golf, Rory says. I think as well as to be a massive thing for the country. Sport has an unbelievable ability to bring people together. We all know that this country sometimes needs that. The weight of those expectations seems to overwhelm Rory, though, during his first round. His first swing of the Open, a 2-iron off the tee, sails left and lands OB, internal OB. He eventually makes an 8. He also makes 2 double bogeys late in the round and signs for a 79. A disaster of a start.
Man, that's up there. If not the most unfun Rory round of the career, that's top 3 for sure. I mean, the old course was at 22, was up there. Obviously Pinehurst. But that one was like really fun until the last 10 minutes.
Until it wasn't.
Yeah, but this one was just pretty unfun all the way through. I also was thinking about it like this. I think this tournament, this might be the, at least in modern era, like this is the tournament I'm most bummed to have not been at. That had to be fucking awesome on the ground there.
I do remember thinking, I think I even like tweeted this, like if you picked Rory to win this week, I question whether you know him at all. Like because like this was the most like, yeah, dude, this ain't happening. This is way too many thoughts in your brain and way too many like people putting expectations and hopes and dreams on you that you're gonna be the sort of uniting truth of all this place. I'm pretty truthful with you guys, Rory says. And look, I was nervous on the first tee, but not nervous because of that, like all the political stuff. I was nervous because it was an Open Championship. I usually get nervous on the first tee anyway, regardless of where it is. So maybe a little more today than other places, but I don't think it was that. A real like grinding my feet on Eddie's couch situation, Sully. Um, his Friday round at Portrush, though, however, unfolds as one of the most emotional rounds of his career. He summons something special, pouring his heart into every shot as he tries to make the cut. He shoots 65, and he's in tears as he gets a standing ovation coming up the 18th hole. The last week has been a real sort of
Roy Hobbs after he got shot. Split.
The last week has been a real sort of eye-opener for me, Rory says. Sometimes you're so far away and you forget about all the people who are cheering you on back home. And when you come to play in front of them, it definitely hit me like a ton of bricks by today. He misses the cut by a single shot, but he says his Friday round will go down as one of the best memories of his entire career.
Just get off the bus, man. Like you know that you go shoot 65 on a Friday, but the only time you can't do it is after you shoot 85 million on the opening day, right? It's just like where this maddening process it just starts flip-flopping. It's like, all right, great start, collapsing finish, or collapsing start, incredible finish. It just never pieced together for 72 holes.
It's 2020. The global pandemic is raging. With all the majors postponed for several months because of COVID, the first major of the year will be the PGA Championship at Harding Park, same course where Rory won the match play in 2015. It'll be the first major without fans in attendance. Rory says, look, I'm not a public health expert and I won't pretend to be up here. Thanks, Rory, for that. I guess whatever they say is what's safe to do. I feel like I'm a rule follower and I'll play by the rules. So as long as they tell us it's safe, then it's safe. Does it bother him that he hasn't won a 5th major championship? It doesn't keep me up at night, and I don't think about it every day, but when I play these major championships, it's something that I'm obviously reminded of, Rory says. Yeah, look, I would have liked to win a couple of those majors in that time, but I feel like I've had a couple of decent chances, and I just haven't gotten the job done. Rory doesn't really play poorly in this major, but he kind of just gets left in the dust. He trails Dustin Johnson by 9 shots going into Sunday. Colin Morikawa wins his first major, outdueling Paul Casey and DJ for the win. Scotty Scheffler, a PGA Tour rookie, finishes T4. Rory's asked once again to explain why he can't seem to break through in majors. I don't know, he says with a smile on his face. Maybe I'm just not as good as I used to be. Of all the quotes that I dug up, that was one of the saddest.
Which in a way almost feels, I don't know, that almost feels like performance art, tongue-in-cheek jab at like Sergio there.
Mm-hmm.
Right, or the whole maybe I'm not good enough to win with it. Like I don't think that's what Rory was actually feeling. I think it was just kind of more of a please stop asking me these fucking questions.
Well,
I'm
I think
trying
that's
to win
definitely
as
what I was.
hard
It
as
was
I
a
can.
eerie, like,
Yeah.
fuck you guys. Like,
Yeah.
why do I have to keep like saying these same things over and over?
What a God, maybe I was just starved for major championship golf, but what a Sunday that was.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That was so fun.
Matt Wolf involved in
Yeah.
that one. Like,
That
what a
3-wood Colin hit is like one of I don't know how that I guess just because there's no fans, but like talk about just
Was
the
it 3-wood
it
or
was
was it
driver. It
driver?
was
was it a
driver.
Yeah, it
driver?
was
Yeah.
driver.
Just the best like major championship shot that never gets shown on any replays. I feel like I never see that one floating around, but that was insane.
It's a shame there wasn't crowd there for that one because that
Yeah.
would have been like iconic.
Electric. Yeah. All right, we're on to Winged Foot. Now, of course, we've got some changes going on in Roy's life. It's his first major since he became a father. His daughter Poppy was born in August, just a few weeks after the PGA Championship. Everyone is good, thankfully, Rory says. I'm just grateful that everything is good at home. It allows me to come up here and focus on what I'm supposed to do. I actually changed my first 2 diapers, and I'm so very proud of that. Yeah, I got my hands dirty, put it that way.
2?
Unlike 2? Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. 2 types. Come on, bro. I need you getting your hands dirty in there. If you want the proper perspective, I need you. I was averaging about 11.6 that first month, I think, if I checked my stats.
You should have
So
learned
you
to hit,
got in there,
learn
got
to
a
hit the
2 minute
driver a
hit.
little better. So you should have done your speed training a little earlier in your life. Maybe you wouldn't be in that situation.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but unlike recent majors, Rory gets off to a strong start, shooting his first round 67.
No memory of this whatsoever.
Yeah, he and JT like out to an incredible start. But his championships hopes disappear the following day when he follows it up with a 76.
Okay, I actually do remember that.
Finishes T8th, his 12th top 10 in a major since 2014, but 12 strokes behind Bryson DeChambeau, who wins his first major.
I think it was hard to remember anything other than the super say he'd resign if anybody shot under par. That was pretty much top of mind. That was pretty all consuming.
I feel like 2018 Masters and 2020 US Open are like the active golf world's like Homer Simpson retreating into the bushes thing of like, hey, let's all back away and let's just pretend this never happened. Like we all agree here. Like we don't agree with what just happened here.
Well, unfortunately, Rory does pay close attention to what happens to the champion. As we sort of start to reveal in his final quote here to the media, I don't really know what to say because he's just the complete opposite of what you think an U.S. Open champion does. When asked about DeChambeau hitting only 4 of his last 21 fairways. Look, he's found a way to do it. Whether that's good or bad for the game, I don't know. But it's not the way I saw this golf course being played or this tournament being played. It's kind of really hard to wrap my head around it. However, we're going to the Masters, a fall Masters here, all right? Because of the Masters, it'll serve as the final major. So we're going to get 2 majors right in back to back
This
of
is
the
his
Masters.
chance.
Like,
this is his
this
chance.
is his chance.
He won't have to
right?
wait through the 8-month wait either way. Like this is your chance here.
The unusual schedule has many predicting that McIlroy has been given an unexpected blessing in pursuit of his first Grand Slam. It's the first and only time he won't have to spend 8 months waiting for the Masters to arrive. Phil Mickelson, getting into the quote game here, is asked, because he didn't win a major until he was 33 years old. Rory's not even close to that yet. If there's any advice that he might give Rory as he tries to snap his majorless streak.
Come join the High Flyers.
Yeah. I got some thoughts. I cannot put them in writing, but let's have dinner. I can tell you about it.
First of all, there's not much advice I can give him, Mickelson says. The guy is as complete of a player as there comes, and there is, as well as he's smart, he's knowledgeable, he works hard, so he'll win and complete the Grand Slam. He's too great a player not to. There's nothing I can really say to help him. He's got to have a lot of great opportunities, and he's going to continue to do so. He's playing beautifully. I would be shocked if he wasn't in contention with a great chance on Sunday. Phil, very complimentary of our boy back in the day. In his pre-tournament press conference, Rory admits that he's been trying to add speed to his swing during the last month. It will be months before he'll admit it, but he'll chalk it up to the pursuit of a bruised ego of watching Bryson tear apart Winged Foot. As his session comes to a close, one reporter asked Rory where he thinks his inner grit comes from. I think grit comes from my failures, and I don't have to look any further than this place in 2011. I learned a lot from that day. I learned a lot of what I needed to be and what I didn't need to be. I think failure, I think I say this to young guys that are coming up. You can't be afraid of it. You have to embrace the fact that you're going to fail at things, and you should learn from them. And when you do, you should be better. However, Rory's swing looks completely out of sorts during the second half of the first round, which gets split between Thursday and Friday because of an electrical storm. He plays the first 9 in even par and then plays the back in 3 over to finish with a 75. So I remember you tweeting that it looked like Rory was just throwing his arms at the ball. Shout out to me. That's how I swing it all the time. I honestly have been playing so good coming in here. And then I go into the first round and I shoot 75 and I'm like, where the hell does that come from? McIlroy says. Augusta National member Jimmy Dunn gives McIlroy a pep talk when he's on his way to the range between rounds, and it seems to work. Rory plays his next 3 rounds in 14 under, going 66, 67, 69. But as often as the case at the Masters, it's too little too late. Dustin Johnson, who was Rory's playing partner during the first 2 rounds, so the electrical storm can't be chalked up to the reason here, wins with the lowest score, 20 under in Masters history.
You should have hired Jimmy Dunn to be his caddy.
Oh my
I feel
goodness.
like that could have solved a bunch of things.
Well, that's okay, right? Because the Masters is the next major. It's coming right around, right? After a frustrating start to the season, one that includes missing the cut at the Players at 2021, Rory admits he's kind of searching coming into the Masters. He confirms a report that he's been working with swing coach Pete Cowan since the match play event in Austin. A surprise considering he's only worked with Michael Bannon since he was a teenager. He says this is the beginning of a journey and that his swing is in transition.
Pete Cowan's sick. We should do a deep dive on Pete Cowan.
Should
be a great interview.
Yeah.
It's a very tough choice. It was a very tough choice, McIlroy said. But as I said a couple weeks ago in Austin, it's not as if their relationship has changed in any way. Michael is still part of the team. It's just an extra set of eyes to see a few things. I just felt like bringing in Pete can only help. Does it help, guys?
I don't think he wins this one either.
It definitely does not help. He misses the cut just for the second time in his career at the Masters, shooting 76-74. Looking kind of lost at this point.
2020.
That's okay though, because we're going back to Kiowa, right, where he's been like a tremendous success here. Obviously, he's going to kick ass here and win a major.
I straight up, as soon as you said Kiowa, I'm like, wait, Kiowa, who won? Oh, right. How did that happen? Oh my god!
What?
Wait, who won this? How did that happen? How am I not thinking about that all day, every day?
Yeah. In the lead up to the tournament, he's trying to kind of downplay the fact that he's, dominated the last time here. He says he's changed in significant ways. So has the course. A lot has changed. I'm in a completely different place in my life. Yeah, everything has changed, really. I feel like I'm a completely different person. I think a lot has changed for the better. I'm standing up here probably more confident in myself, happier where I am in my life, and just sort of enjoying everything, enjoying life, enjoying everything a bit more.
It's a real never the same man, never the same river type of situation going back to Kiowa there.
Literally right before Kiowa, he won the Wells Fargo at Quail. So it's not like he was playing poorly. But it looks lost at Kiowa, failing to break par in any of his 4 rounds, finishing T49. Phil Mickelson becomes the oldest major champion in history, outdueling Brooks Koepka to win his 6th major title. I don't know what the next 20 years down the line is going to look for me, Rory says, but hopefully I'm in Phil's position and still contending in these things.
Oh, man.
On to Torrey Pines, the U.S. Open. The questions about whether why Rory hasn't won a major are getting slightly more pointed. On the eve of Torrey Pines, he's pressed about his uneven play in major and why he frequently puts himself in a hole and has to dig out of. Probably just putting a little too much pressure on myself, playing a little too carefully, a little too tentative. I think that sort of sums it up. This year, however, Rory echoes his start at Pebble and Winged Foot and shoots 1 under to start of the championship. He stumbles in the second round and shoots 73, but he soars into contention with a third round 67. Hell yeah, we're fucking going all in on this one. We're winning this one.
Felt real.
Sure. I'm trying to think of the last time I really felt like I had a chance, Rory says. Carnoustie in 18 maybe felt like I had half a chance. Going into the final day of Pebble, maybe in 2019. It's interesting he doesn't include the Masters in 2018 just because he got the doors blown off on that final day. But apart from that, there's really been some good finishes, but I never felt like I was in the thick of things. I'm just excited for the opportunity to have a chance to be in one of the final groups. When Rory birdies the 4th hole on Sunday, trickling in a 30-foot putt to go 4 under, he's a shot off the lead. But he cannot maintain that position, making a bogey on 11 and a double on 12. 73 is good enough to finish T7, another yellow box in his Wikipedia page, but not much else matters. John Rahm, who started the final round a shot behind Rory,
Mm.
shoots 67 to win his first major. It's disappointing that I had a chance and didn't get the job done, Rory says. But considering where I've been the previous few years, it's a big step in the right direction. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Going back to the Open Championship, going to Royal St. George, obviously, like this would be truly one of the most forgettable majors of the whole deal. What may go down as one of his most forgettable majors of the decade. He never even sniffs contention, finishes T46. After the Ryder Cup that fall, McIlroy announces he is parting ways with Pete Cowan and returning to work with Bannon. I actually kind of thought that was a significant thing in some of this research because felt like maybe a wasted year in the middle of his whole kind of career, switching coaches, not trusting what he had going previously.
If you look now, I mean, at this point, and obviously the current point, you can look at, I remember like looking at this at the time and saying, Rory got 4 major wins in like 5 chances. Like I would say Whistling Straits was a good chance, but that's an unsustainable rate. And it is not how, I mean, Tiger has, like, look at how Phil has gotten 6 majors in how many great chances?
Right.
20, 21, 22. I mean, just, I'm pulling that out of my ass. But like, when we look, if you just kind of zoom out on Rory's career, like 4 wins out of the amount of chances he's had and the amount of duds, like it makes sense. It does make sense.
Sure.
It just, the path of getting there does not make sense. And it is not helpful to get the next one. Like you'd rather them be more spread out than like have this doubt creep in over a decade period.
Which, speaking of the 2021 Open, I mean, that's kind of the same thing with Morikawa, right? Like that's what's going to be interesting to watch
Yep.
his career going forward. Is
Yep.
he's starting to play really good golf again, and if he has another year full of like close calls, it's gonna, it's a smaller scale probably, but it's gonna feel similar, I would imagine.
I think the one thing that made it like the contrast a little bit more stark, Sally, is that Brooks kept just like winning majors like every time he got into contention.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, man, this dude is like literally in your generation. Like, how is this guy doing what you used to do and you're not anymore?
I'd throw in though, like Brooks has had some close calls at U.S. Opens and majors. Like there's some other yellows in his Wikipedia. It's not
For
like
sure.
he hits more often than he misses when he is in contention. But again,
I agree, but during that stretch when he won at Bethpage, when it was like 4 in like literally 3 years,
was
whatever
different.
total, it was like, okay, this guy is gonna just like every time he gets in contention, he's gonna close this out. He was a little bit in contention at Portrush and kind of faded a bit at the end there, and so in the U.S. Open at Pebble, so it wasn't quite like it seemed, but it was just like once Brooks tied Rory in majors, it was just like, oh, you finally don't have that thing hanging over everybody else anymore. Like, well, I'm still the best guy in my generation with the most majors. Like, no, you're tied. Oh, wait, now you're behind, which we'll get to.
I think it's interesting too, Saul. I think you're making a very good point on like the order in which this happens is probably very important for future success, because you look at someone like Xander, for whom like the exact opposite happened, where it was just like, okay, man, here's 7 years of close calls and just keep beating your head against the wall, and then now the floodgates are going to open. Like who do you like to win a major next year more, like Xander or Rory? It's an interesting thought. They're not all created equal.
I got Brooks. He was runner up to Tiger 2019 Masters,
Which I think he threw. But
yep, that's true. Runner up to Gary Woodland at the 2019 U.S. Open. Runner up to Phil at the 2021 PGA Championship, and runner up to Rahm at 2023 Masters. Like it.
It's crazy that Brooks lost to broken down Tiger and broken down Phil. Is
Underrated
theoretically
small of Brooks's legacy.
And G-Dub,
Maybe
who
throw
we
both.
know he was notoriously in cahoots with. He might have thrown that one too.
Yeah. Thanks, Brooks, for your service.
Seriously.
He gave golf some pretty historic moments.
For the content.
All right, we're going back to the Masters in 2022. This is his 8th attempt to win the career Grand Slam. He's clearly running out of ways at this point to answer the same question about whether he feels pressure to complete it.
Can I time out for this? You know what Roy should do? He should do a bit where he like takes one of his press conference answers in totality from a prior one, and like when he gets asked about it in 2025, he should just read the exact statement.
Hold up
no, he's just read it. Like,
card.
see if anybody catches on. Like, I'm giving the exact same answer I gave in 2017.
God, that's a good one.
Also, it would be funny if he was like, "Do I really have a chance to win the career Grand Slam? That's crazy. I've never thought about that. Whoa, who else has done that? Jack, has he done it? Did Gary play it? Nope. Sorry. Okay. So he says, "Look, It's still very, very important, but I don't know if I would feel like I was fulfilled if I didn't win if I didn't win one or whatever. It's less pressure than it was in 2015 for sure. There are plenty of people saying though that, however, this will finally be his year. I know how these stories unfold, says Jim Nance in a pre-tournament chat with the media. Augusta just has this ability for some reason to tell stories better than any other place. Those scripts, one year beats the next. And I mean, I have it in my head and my heart that he's going to win a green jacket one year. I mean, he's going to have a lot more chances, but this just might be the year. This might be the year. It's quiet enough going into he's such a rare talent. Maybe that's the story how the story this year will end, that he completes it. No, the story has an all too familiar feel. He gets left behind early, shoots 73-73, and trails Scotty Scheffler by 10 shots going into the final round. Asked by the media what his goal is for Sunday, he says, just try to move up a few more tomorrow and try to get a top 10 and move on. But on Sunday, teeing off an hour before the leaders and with nothing to lose, Rory plays arguably his best round of his Masters career, making 6 birdies and an eagle to surge up the leaderboard. He's never truly in contention because Scheffler leaves by 5 strokes when McIlroy finishes.
God, it felt like
But
he was.
when he holes out from a bunker on 18 for one final birdie, putting an exclamation point on a 64 and tying the lowest final round in Masters history, it feels a bit like an exorcism.
Saul and I were at the Jigger Inn for this one. I remember we had this trip with a bunch of NLU people that got delayed like 3 years because of COVID, and we finally were able to take it, and we had the entire Jigger Inn rented out to ourselves. And I think that was Rory hope and optimism personified inside of that bar. I mean, that was an entire building of people just trying to will him into contention. I remember making eagle on 13. The whole place just goes nuts. It was like one of my most fun golf watching experiences ever.
Rory says afterwards, to play like I did today and finish like this, man, it's absolutely incredible. This tournament never ceases to amaze me. That's as happy as I've ever been on a golf course right there.
This was also the Masters where Tron said that Scotty Scheffler winning would be the worst thing that would ever happen to golf. Which remains to be seen, but I think it's been pretty fun since.
Gosh, and the fact that TC invented Sky
I
Shuffle
know.
is such a
Real
see him turn on
Oppenheimer
his
situation.
innovation. Oh, hate it. This is a good trivia question. McIlroy finishes solo second, his best ever finish at the Masters. And there's only one of the few times he was not truly in contention. Well, the good vibes of Augusta seem to carry over to the PGA, where it's Southern Hills, and Rory opens with a 65. He's the solo leader. We're finally getting away from the bad starts. It's the first time he's held the solo lead in major since 2014. He's in such a playful mood, he cannot resist cracking a joke when the PGA of America moderator asks if this is the start he's been looking for at majors. No, I'd rather shoot 74 and try to make the cut tomorrow, McIlroy says. But for whatever reason, he cannot sustain his strong play. He tumbles down the leaderboard, making a triple bogey on Saturday to essentially fall out of contention. Early in the week, when McIlroy opened with a sizzling 65 in the first round, it looked like he was poised to snap an 8-year drought at majors, announcing his presence with a roar, writes ESPN's Kevin Van Valkenburg. Now it seems like he has slunk back into the wilderness, a once vicious lion who has forgotten how to hunt. Spoiler here, or a little Easter egg here. This was actually me trying to sneak cat references into the ESPN's copy because I had done the Shotgun Start cat podcast that week. And so we were making as many cat jokes as possible. And so I thought, him being a once vicious lion would a little wink, wink at the Shotgun Start listeners. Justin Thomas, who began his final round 7 strokes behind Mito Pereira, completes the biggest final round comeback in history, winning his second PGA Championship, shoots final round 67, and then beats Will Zalatoris in a playoff.
What a day. Sick major.
That was very fun.
It was. We're going to the country club, right? Up in Massachusetts. Rory, who once missed 3 straight cuts at the U.S. Open, feels like he has left behind that period for good. He's become, believe it or not, one of the game's most consistent U.S. Open performers. And he opens with a first round 67. And after a second round 69, he's just a shot off the lead shared by Colin Morikawa and, anyone remember?
Joel Damon.
Joel Damon.
That's right. Yep.
I'm in a good place, Rory says after his second round. I'm really happy with where my game is, and I think that's the most important thing. Another weekend fade, however, dooms his chances. A Saturday 73 leaves him 3 strokes behind going into the final round, and he never gets closer than that. He finishes T5, his 5th consecutive top 10 finish at the US Open, but it is of little solace. Another top 5 in a major, McIlroy says. I guess it doesn't really mean anything.
Oof.
Jesus, come on, man.
Matt Fitzpatrick wins his first career major, shooting a final round 68.
Yeah, cool top 5, Joel. This doesn't you know how fucking easy this is for me?
Well, anyone remember where we're headed next?
Oh God, nope,
2022.
nope.
Oh,
Major
yeah.
didn't
Yep,
happen.
Oh,
yep.
right now.
Sorry, got to do it. We're going to St. Andrews for the 150th playing of the Open Championship.
God, I wish he would have just gone out and played soccer the week before. Would have been saved everybody a lot of time.
Oh. A lot of people are wondering if the stars might be aligning for McIlroy to finally break his winless streak at majors. He is both the betting favorite and the emotional favorite going in.
Death Stars are aligning.
Also, the Live PGA Tour drama, which has been going on in the background all this time. Rory says, I can't go in here thinking this might be my time. I have to go out and play a really good tournament. I'm happy with where everything's at. I just can't get ahead of myself. For 3 rounds, Rory plays patient, at times brilliant golf. He opens with a 66 and follows it up with a 68. And on Saturday, he holes a bunker shot on the 10th hole for eagle to grab the outright lead, a shot that feels at the time like it might go down as the signature shot of the championship. I think it's just appreciating the moment and appreciating the fact that it's unbelievably cool to have a chance to win the Open at St. Andrews, McIlroy says. It's what dreams are made of, and I'm going to try to make a dream come true tomorrow. Where were you guys watching this final round?
Kill House.
We had just moved into our house here in Milwaukee, and so I was in the very room that I'm in right now, like pacing around watching it by myself.
DJ, I believe I texted you on Saturday night as I was thinking about leaving ESPN and coming to NLU, as saying, I can't believe Rory's going to win a major tomorrow, and I'm not going to be there. I don't ever want to miss another one of these again. And you said, like, amen, let's do it. That was sort of when ESPN left me home for this major, that was kind of the final straw. I'd be like, fuck this. I'm going to work for a much better company. Instead, on Sunday, what unfolds is a slow boiling nightmare for McIlroy. He plays conservatively throughout the day, and Cam Smith, who trailed Rory by 4 shots going into Sunday, surges into the lead with 5 consecutive birdies on the back 9.
He played so fucking good.
This is incredible.
Like, I think that does get. I don't think we lost this at the time. Like, I think we gave it its proper due, but I think as history goes on, it's going to probably be remembered for Rory kicking this thing away, and Cam absolutely wrestled this thing to the ground and took it. He played so goddamn good.
I remember when Cam ended up short of the road hole bunker, I was like, oh, he's so fucked there. Like, this is my heart is filled with hope. Like, this was the break that Rory needed. There's no fucking way you can get up and down from there. And then he hit that putt that rode up the edge of the bunker, left him a 10-footer, and he rolled that 10-footer in. I was like, well, perhaps some things are just not meant to be, because that was fucking disgusting how good that was.
That was just incredible drama. Just like everybody turning towards home, everybody going the same direction on that golf course, going back towards the town. The holes get more and more famous as you come in. Like different. Oh, that was freaking epic Sunday.
What was do you have a specific moment, Kev? I don't want to jump on the birdies and bogeys here, but
No,
was
no,
there
go ahead.
for me it was like 14.
Yeah.
I remember vividly, right, where it was playing straight into the wind, I'm sorry, straight downwind. Cam just leaving it in the perfect place to blow it over the green in 2 shots on 14 so that he could chip back into the wind and make an easy birdie, and Rory leaving it in like the hardest, most difficult spot, short right of that green, chipping downwind, ball running, like green running away was just like, oh yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah, I don't know. It all kind of blends together in a sort of mush for me in a lot of ways. I mean, I remember the shot Rory hit into 17
for sure.
was unbelievable. It was like, all right, fuck this. I'm actually going to play Rory fucking McIlroy golf and hit the most hardest fucking shot possible. But then, of course, he doesn't make that birdie. He finished with only 2 birdies on the day, and he finishes tied for 3rd, actually.
Couldn't make any putts.
Yeah. Afterwards, he says, I'm only human. I'm not a robot. Of course, you think about it, you envision it, you want to envision it. I was literally, my hotel room is directly across from the
Uh,
big yellow board on 18, right at the first. Every time I go out, I'm trying to envision McIlroy as a top name on that leaderboard, and how would that feel? At the start of the day, it was at the top, but at the start of tomorrow, it won't be. You got to let yourself dream. You got to let yourself think about it and what it would be like. But once I was on the golf course, it was just task in hand, trying to play the best golf course, playing the best golf that I could.
that's
That's
real like Vince McMahon gif. Just yeah, cut
yeah.
cut it off, guys. We're not. Nah,
No,
we can't do
no.
this.
That's honestly one of the like most kind of beautiful sad quotes I think of this era of golf, of like, hey, I was looking at that leaderboard and I was trying to envision it, and tomorrow won't be up there. Like, it was up there on top and now it won't be, and I got to live with that. It's like, whew.
He,
I mean,
the image of he
yeah.
gets in the golf cart, like puts his head on Erica's shoulders and just like
Yeah.
started to cry and they drove away. I was
Yeah.
just like, fuck, man.
Damn. Well, we're going back to Augusta though, so that's a great way to fix things. It's his ninth attempt to win the career Grand Slam. But he knows that a pattern has emerged for him as Augusta. He just can't figure out how to start strong. I always feel like I have the physical ability to win this tournament, he says, but it's being in the right headspace and letting those physical abilities shine through. It's been tentative starts, not putting my foot on the gas early enough. Unfortunately, that self-awareness doesn't quite help. When he reaches the first tee, he shoots 72 in the first round and 77 in the second to miss the cut. John Rahm, meanwhile, wins his second major, outlasting Brooks Koepka. Rory skips the RBC Heritage the following week, spends some time with family, citing the need to attend to his emotional well-being and mental health. I needed a break for me, Rory says. Tough stint there, just tough all around. Well, we're going to Oak Hill now, a place where he
Practically
might
a
have a
home
home
game.
field advantage. Yeah, home game. His wife Erica is from Rochester, and the McIlroys are actually members at Oak Hill. McIlroy, he said this to me and Kyle as we were walking around that day. It's sort of an honorary membership that he's only played the course a few times, including like the day before his like sister-in-law's wedding. He says, I still get the emails. I open them sometimes. He's typically loquacious and open with the media, as we've seen in this, but he's curt and guarded before the tournament, answering multiple questions with one-word answers. Asked if he ever goes back and watches his performance from Valhalla in 2014, McIlroy admits that he has, but then declines to elaborate. Yes, sometimes, he says. There was a ruthlessness about the way you were that final day, Alan Shipnuck asks. Are you still that way? I feel like that's a pretty exhausting in life in general, to be that ruthless, Rory says. It's not as if I can't get into that mode, but I don't feel like I need it to be that way to be successful on the golf course. McIlroy doesn't have any blowups at Oak Hill, sort of sticking to a plan of patience, but he also doesn't really produce any fireworks. Finishes 2 under par for the week, 7 shots back of Brooks, who wins his 5th major. For the first time in a decade, Rory no longer has the most majors of a player from his generation. As we'll see later in the Netflix documentary Full Swing that comes out in March of 2024, Rory is captured in the Oak Hill locker room talking to his manager, Sean O'Flaherty, excoriating himself and contemplating his future. My technique is nowhere as good as it needs to be, Rory says. I almost feel like I want to do a complete reboot. It's the only way I feel like I'm going to break through. It feels so far away. I'm not at the stage in my life where I feel like I can do these 2-week boot camps. I feel good enough to fucking top 10 in my head, but not good enough to win, like pull away, like win fucking major championships.
Shit myself the left pins.
Yeah. Which is crazy, like looking back on it now, because I feel like LACC was, I don't know, up there on. He obviously, to his point, didn't win running away like he did in the past, but pretty complete performance.
Yeah, that's also an unreasonable expectation, like to,
Right.
to win going away. And I feel like, yeah, maybe we probably should have started with this part of like just acknowledging and saying out loud, it's really, 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 really fucking hard to win majors. Like it's just really hard. It's when the dividing line is like you be the best in the world at a really hard golf course or everything else is a failure. Like at best, you got like a 5% chance to win all these things, right? So you can drive yourself crazy looking to make those odds like 6% instead of 5% when you go to tee it up. And man, it might just be that hard.
I don't know. I mean, could you talk me into a scenario where like winning Congressional and Kiowa in like blowout fashion was maybe worse mentally for him in the long run, because it's like, hey, like I should do this all the fucking time. Like, why am I not like this good? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a dumb question to ask, but like, does he win more majors if he doesn't win 4 out of 5 in that succession in the long haul? Like, is he just easier for him mentally to understand? Like, hey, it's not that fucking easy.
It's a good question.
It is a good question.
How many did he win Hoylake by?
2,
like 3 or 4, wasn't it?
I think it was 2. I'll look that up.
But
it never
the
felt.
point of this is that
like,
none of the 4 were like, I guess, other than Valhalla. It doesn't seem like a ton of wins in his career. I need to double check this, but they're not. Yeah, actually,
birdie the last hole.
yeah,
That kind of.
scrap that, because I think that it's probably half and half, I guess.
He won
Like,
by
there-
2 at Hoylake.
yeah.
Yeah. But he was up by
Okay.
6 going into the final round.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Forgot about
Yeah,
that.
but like Sergio made it like, or maybe it was Ricky who made it interesting briefly
Both
on
of them.
that Sunday, but then it was not really. It never felt like he was, oh fuck, I might lose this major. It was kind of like, yeah, I'm still in control, I'm good.
There was a moment where he made back-to-back bogeys on the front 9. He bogeyed, hit that horrible shot into 6, the par 3, and it was like, oh shit, this is okay, somewhat interesting, but he bounced back.
We're going to LACC for the first time in his career. McIlroy declines to speak with the media prior to major championship, saying he's grown weary of the sound of his own voice during all the PGA Tour and Live drama. Remember, of course, this is after the merger,
Fake
reunification, fake merger, mission statement, whatever the fuck it was. Instead of obsessing over his pre-tournament prep, he chooses to take a more relaxed approach. His practice rounds at LACC are the first time he's seen the course, and the vibe pays off when he opens with a 65. I started thinking about winning this thing when I came here on Monday, McIlroy says after his second round 67. No one wants me to win a major more than I do. He does actually trail Wyndham Clark and Ricky Fowler by a shot going into the final round, but it is clear early on it is a 2-man race after Ricky bogeys 3 of the first 7 holes. Wyndham Clark, despite having 1 career win at this point, hangs on, getting up and down from everywhere to hold off McIlroy by a stroke, despite making bogeys on 15 and 16. A bogey on the 14th hole, where Rory misses the green with a wedge in hand, is ultimately the difference. He gets relief from an embedded ball, but it doesn't matter. Rory is asked after yet another disappointment in a major if he feels like he's running out of things to say and lessons to learn. I think somebody might have asked this question who was on this Zoom. That would be me. When I do finally win this next major, it's going to be really, really sweet. I would go through 100 Sundays like this to get my hands on another major championship.
We're getting close.
We're on our way.
Yeah.
Damn it. Almost halfway there.
The wedge into that par 5, 14 was like, that's the one that sticks with me there.
With as much flack as we've given him for wedges, like to have that happen when you've got one of your best chances you've had in quite some time of actually winning one was just an extra hard kick in the gonads.
Yeah. It was tough too because like he hits not a terrible tee shot off of that tee, and it's just like I remember I was right there looking at the lie, and it was just shitty enough of a lie that like he couldn't go for it with like 3-wood or whatever it was. And Wyndham, of course, hits in the fairway. It's an incredible 3-wood on that green, and then is able to 2-putt for birdie. And that like there's enough of a difference. It's like Wyndham didn't have the wedge shot was fucking pretty hard, but Wyndham didn't have to mess with the wedge shot because he didn't miss his tee ball in the fairway. Was able to just kind of hit a power fade over that bunker there. All right, we're on to Royal Liverpool. The final major of the year is another opportunity for Rory to be reminded of his old self, revisiting Hoylake for the first time when he won the Claret Jug in 14. But he's not really interested in doing that. A little bit, he says, when asked if returning brings back fond memories, but maybe not as much as you might think. Over the past 9 years, a lot has happened in my life. Rory doesn't play a single round over par, but finishing at 6 under scarcely matters because Brian Harman wins his first major, nearly lapping the field with 13 under and winning by 7 strokes. It's Rory's 7th top 10 finish in the last 8 majors. Over the last 2 years, would I have loved to have picked off one of these things? Yeah, absolutely. But every time I tee it up, or most times I tee it up, I'm right there. I can't sit here and be so frustrated.
Yeah, we're not frustrated at all either. It's going totally fine. We're doing totally fine over here.
Hey, we're going back to Augusta. For the first time in a decade, Rory does not feel like the clear favorite. Rahm is the defending champion, and Scheffler is actually the clear favorite, having emerged as the game's best player.
Thanks to Rory
That,
telling him
however,
to use a mallet.
that, however, does not deter questions about whether or not McIlroy can win his career Grand Slam in his 10th attempt. No question he'll do it at some point, says Tiger Woods. Rory's too talented, too good. He's going to be playing this event for a very long time. He'll get it done. It's just a matter of when. But yes, I think that Rory will be great Masters champion one day, and it could be this week. You never know. It's just that, again, the talent that he has, the way he plays the game, and the golf course, the way it fits his eye, it's just a matter of time. McIlroy, having listened to those similar sentiments for a decade, responds to questions about Woods' compliment with I would describe as weary bemusement. It's flattering, Rory says. It's nice to hear, in my opinion, the best player ever to say about the game to say something like that. Yeah, so does it mean it's going to happen? Obviously not, but he's been around the game long enough that at least I get to have the potential. He knows at least I have the potential to do it. Not this year. A meaningless T22, any chance undone by a second round 77.
Paired with Scotty Scheffler, right next to him, like just playing together. You get to see what the premium ball striker of this era it now is, like how far behind you actually are.
Scotty wins his second green jacket, holding off Ludwig Aberg and Max Homa. We go on to the PGA Championship at Valhalla. Another chance for Rory to relive his old self. But prior to the PGA Championship, basically on the Monday, news breaks that Rory has filed for divorce from his wife, Erica, 7 years, citing irreconcilable differences. His manager, Sean O'Flaherty, says he will not be answering any questions about his personal life and asks the media to please respect his privacy. I'm ready to play this week, he says, curtly deflecting one question about what his state of mind is. Rory actually opens with a first round 66, but a second round 71 ends any realistic chance he has of contending. Scotty Scheffler's arrest on Friday, a thing that still feels surreal to say, when he is charged with felony assault on a police officer during a traffic incident outside Valhalla, becomes the story of the tournament. According to Nathan Hubbard of the Fairway Rolling podcast, McIlroy walks up to Scheffler on the putting green on Saturday and couldn't resist cracking a joke. Pretty uneventful week, huh? Rory says. Well, you took some of the noise away from me, so I appreciate it. Rory finishes T12, 9 shots back of Xander Schauffele, who wins his first major championship. The 71 on Friday is obviously not what I was looking for, McIlroy says, kind of echoing the theme of a decade. Obviously, I put myself too far back.
I'm just gonna do this while you're covering the next one. I'm gonna go to Chat GPT and I'm gonna say you are Rory McIlroy and you just had a disappointing major championship round. Give me some quotes on this, and I want to see what it comes back with.
Just in case we don't circle back to it, also now not getting divorced. So
Yes, thank you, DJ.
we have no real clarity on kind of what happened or didn't happen, or no bigger privacy respecter than me.
Thank you for respecting.
But just updating that for the historical record.
Thank you, Deej. Well, we're on to Pinehurst, which couldn't possibly be any more painful than St. Andrews, I'm sure. Rory opens with a 65 in round one. He makes it clear prior to the tournament he's going to be basically doing almost no media. He's got a new media plan.
This is right after I had acquired the block party, by the way. Deal sold it on Wednesday night.
Wow.
Historic gains at the just perfectly timed investment.
You might have bought at the bubble, Deej. I'm not sure. It's unclear. In the first round, after his first round 65, he's tied with Patrick Cantlay, his old Ryder Cup foe, who he referred to as a dick in an offseason interview. But in the second round, he kind of struggles a little bit, shoots 72, falls back to 3 under. But in round 3, he keeps crushing contention with a 69, leaving him 3 shots behind Bryson on the final day. Round 4, as we all probably know, goes down as maybe one of the most heartbreaking rounds of his career. He birdies 4 out of 5 holes at one point, 9, 10, 12, and 13 to get to 8 under par. Leads by 2, but bogeys on 15 and 16, including a short missed putt on 16, ultimately undo him. For some reason that remains unclear, he hits driver on 18 when he'd hit 3-wood all week and said he was going to stick to that plan no matter what. Driver leaves him in the wiregrass, unable to hit an approach to the green. He punches out to the front of the green, hits a decent chip that runs out just a hair too much and leaves him with a difficult putt above the hole. He cannot make it and make par. Bryson drives it kind of similarly in the wiregrass, dumps into the bunker, gets up and down, a ridiculously good shot, and wins the U.S. Open by 1. Rory peels out of the parking lot without talking to the media.
But I do have some quotes of what he would have said if he had a
please,
chance.
thank you.
It's disappointing, no doubt, but I'll take the positives from the week. There are still a lot of big tournaments ahead, and I know my game is in good shape. I just need to put it all together. There's on handling the pressure. He said there's always pressure in these situations, but that's what we live for. I didn't handle it as well as I wanted to today, but I'll learn from it and be better next time. But the fan support out there, he said the support out there was incredible, and I can't thank the fans enough. I wish I could have given them more to cheer about, but I'll keep grinding. Hopefully give them something special soon.
You should. I wonder if anybody would have asked him who Bryson was going to do his next breaking 50 with. Or Chat GPT would have nailed that one too.
Listen, I hope this if this comes true, but like every day I kind of wonder, like, will it pop up in my algorithm that like Rory and Bryson are doing a breaking 50 video? Like that would be a great way to announce the sort of reunification. Like, hey, I mean, I don't know if you have any lingering thoughts on Pinehurst. It's pretty recent in our memory here. It doesn't.
I feel like we've covered.
Feel like it needs too much
that
rehashing.
one.
But
No.
On to Troon. Before the tournament,
Rory
reveals that he's changed his cell phone number, hoping to create a little distance between himself and the media because he got too many texts after the U.S. Open. For the record, I was not one of those.
I was not either.
Thank you, Sal. Pretty completely unmemorable.
I feel like I need to say I was not one of those people. I don't say it. Like I don't have his number, but like I didn't do that either. But like if I didn't,
you didn't get it as part of the block party, like
then it would
hand
like
over. Is that
no? I did not either.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I get it. Like, look, if you're an actor, like it is interesting to be like have a relationship with a super famous person where you're like occasionally text back and forth because like you definitely think like, oh man, like why didn't you text me back? And then you realize like, oh, because it's like 200 people would text him about like various things, and you think like, oh yeah, like I totally get, wow, it must be fucking impossible to be that famous. Like you absolutely should. I would never give myself out to anyone in that scenario. All right, so we're on to Troon, where Rory then shoots 78 in the opening round and follows it up with a 75 in the second round. Says he starts thinking about his vacation plans after he made a triple on the fourth hole in the second round.
This was real like Richie Tenenbaum shit. He's taking off his shoes and one of his socks during this round. This was really, really, really bleak. And a shout out to anybody who's like, oh man, this Pinehurst thing, this is just gonna really light a spark. Watch this guy come into Troon. Like this is exactly what he did. That is a bad take. And I feel very vindicated and not have been one of those people.
Yeah, same. Don't go check the tape on that one.
Final tallies for the decade of what we're referring to as a decade of lost majors for Rory. He missed 7 cuts over 39 majors. We won't count St. Andrews that he missed because of the soccer injury. So 39 total majors, 7 missed cuts, 26 top 25s, 21 top 10s, and 11 top 5s, 0 victories. Guys, how do we sum up this decade of lost majors for Rory?
Well, let's just do it this way. When does he win another major, and what year?
Yes, and I'm going to say it'll be 2026.
That was going to be my answer too. I don't know why, but
we're going to Quail Hollow this year. Is very interesting.
It's really easy to dismiss that after what we just went through, though. Like, we're going back to Royal Liverpool. We're going back to Valhalla. We're doing all this.
I'm gonna say yes as well. Fuck it. I'm gonna say this year. I'm gonna say he wins it. Quail Hollow. I don't know. I'm on the record so vociferously on both sides of this that it doesn't.
Your words mean nothing in this.
Exactly.
I actually think he's going to win 2 more majors. I don't think the Masters will be one of them. I think he will win a U.S. Open, and I think he'll win another PGA.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think he wins the Masters. I think I'm in that camp now. But I think he ends with 6 majors. I think he'll get 2 more.
Deej, what's the state of the block party? Will there be any block parties anymore? Is it DOA?
Well, no, I discussed this, I believe, after Pinehurst, that I did acquire it that Wednesday night technically I acquired it via a shell corporation that was in Cody's name. So
Yeah, yeah.
Cody was left holding the block party, and you could direct any questions you have about it to him. I know Neil
Okay.
notoriously took a bath on the entire thing,
Mhm.
bought at the highest peak, sold at the absolute lowest valley, and so it's I don't know. I think we're in a state of kind of maybe rebirth a little bit.
Mhm.
Let's take a step back. Let's trim the trees. Let's see what we really have in front of us, and we'll come out next year. We just need a little time to reflect, I think.
I think that's fair. I think we all kind of need a
Yeah.
decade maybe to reflect on this decade.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Kev, I think we should move to wrap. I know D just got to run here as well, and I'll be in danger of talking about this for another 2 hours. But appreciate all that went into preparing all of these notes and look backs for the last 10 years. I hope we can bump this up in celebration next year when he does go win at Quail Hollow. But this is a fun one to note into the historical record. This will help the 2045 podcasters that'll be doing deep dives. This will be a great resource for them. So.
This is available on our website if you're a sadist and would like to go through sort of you know, the pain all over again. Some of the quotes, when you read them back to back, really start to echo and like add up. I'm sure he doesn't. I mean, he talks to the media so much. I'm sure he doesn't even remember half of these things that he said. But when you sort of see them, like it's like, oh man, like how it can't be fun to go like rolling into Augusta every year. Be
Yeah.
like, so what would it mean to win a career Grand Slam? I don't know, man. What would it mean? Shit. Like what? Fuck this place. No, like you gotta say the same nice things every
If
time.
Rory, if you're listening, I would say take that idea of rereading one of your answers and give us a little nod by just like what word can we have him throw in just to do in there? Let's say elephant.
Mm.
Like say the elephant of the memory of an elephant. Throw that phrase in there. We'll know that you listened to this and you're going to just repeat
Hell yeah.
a previous answer.
Hell yeah.
So that's going to wrap us. Thank you so much for listening. Appreciate everyone their time invested in this podcast, including those on this call. So appreciate y'all. Have a great day. Thanks for listening.
Cheers.